Lights, camera, action!
So as I was exiting my building, I caught someone walking their dog like across our lawn looking for a place to shit, even though we've got numerous signs in the yard that say like no dog pooping or whatever. So of course when I step out and he sees me, he starts to hustle away. And that's like, the fuck is wrong with people? If you know you're doing something wrong, you're gonna behave like that. You don't hustle away if you don't think, oh, it's okay. No. Like he fucking knew those signs were up and was still just gonna be like, fuck these people that live here, until one of the people that live there came outside. So it's just so funny to me, people's behavior. I've really been meaning to make a video about the rude dog owners in my neighborhood, and I think I'm gonna do it. I don't know what I'll title it yet. A shitty situation. Got in a little late night walk, 2,300 steps, so I'm pleased by that. Now about to grab this pint of gelato and have a little something sweet before bed. Oh man, alright, I really shouldn't be doing this. But I need to go ahead and clean up the kitchen and change sheets, shower, and go to bed. But I think that I'm gonna sit down and watch a little YouTube and have some gelato first. Yes, I watch YouTube on my television.
So this one's called Commiseration / Don't Give Up Until You Feel Like Anything Beyond Where You're At is a victory lap. But this video is inspired by J Fingers. And I already told him that you know, I watched like several of his videos last night, and I already told him I'm gonna rip off some of the shit. Okay, so you know, me and Jay have been real life. I love the guy, man. So anything I say in here is not negative toward Jay. Absolutely not.
So first I want to shout out my good brother Jayson Smiley. What's up, Jayson? And yeah, Jayson, he did comment on one of my videos. He was just like, oh man, he was like, I you know, I've got thoughts, and if I were to put my thoughts in the comment, I'd be writing like, you know, the longest comment ever. So I'm gonna do my own video. He was just like, you know, I don't mean to bite, you know, your video, but I want to, you know, just commiserate and, you know, share my thoughts. Jayson, man, look, if ever you want to bite one of my videos, I don't even consider it biting. You know, if ever you want to answer or add on to anything that I've said, man, please do so. Because look, let me tell y'all, Jayson has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to Hollywood, the industry. The man, he probably would hate for me to call him like an insider, but I will say that, you know, he's an insider because he has inside knowledge. He knows how all of this shit works. You know, Jayson is a writer as well as a composer, film composer, as well as, Jayson, I don't know if you've acted in anything, but I know that you were a model. And I'm gonna say actor, but you know, if I'm wrong, if I'm mistaken on that, forgive me. Jayson used to be married to an agent at CAA, one of, if not the biggest agency in the industry. He's seen a lot. He knows a lot. He knows a lot of people. He's just experienced things. So when Jayson talks, I feel like people should listen. And I will link, I think I can put a card to his channel. I'll link to his channel. If you haven't subscribed, I would highly suggest you subscribe. And if I can't put the card up here, then I'll link to his channel in the description. But Jayson Smiley, that's my man. That's my brother right there. We got to know each other and everything, like via social media, Twitter and all that. But we met in person in Hollywood because sure enough, you know, he and his lady stopped by the spot and was just like, yo, I know you. And Jayson, I don't remember what we were drinking that night. I just remember we got nice and hammered, all three of us. But I just wanted to, just kind of like, again, shout out Jayson. And he was responding to like a lot of things that I had said in my video, in my update on my screenplay Azalea. And he was just really just kind of like answering like a lot of the things that I was saying, like when I questioned why it seems like my work isn't connecting with people or whatever. Jayson said, yeah, these people probably just don't know how to make it. Or they probably just don't have they don't have the juice, like they don't have the power to make it, which makes sense. And I really do think it's a lot of the first, they don't know how to make it, but not so much like they don't know how to, they know how to make movies and get movies made. But, I think that a lot of the stuff that I'm writing, they're not connecting with, right? That's just my personal opinion. I've talked about it before, what I call the cultural disconnect. I'm writing scripts that are culturally specific. And I think for a lot of the folks in the industry who make decisions, who, whatever, I just think that a lot of them just, they wouldn't know how to go about making anything like this. They wouldn't know like how to market it, how to explain it to, their higher ups. They just wouldn't. It kind of makes me think about something I heard regarding Sinners, Ryan Coogler's hit horror movie from earlier this year, where, the execs at Warner Brothers were just like, they didn't understand it, they didn't get it, and they didn't like it. Until, of course, it started to make boatloads of money and became like the most critically acclaimed film of the year. Then they understood it. But, that's all I'm saying. It's just like, I agree, Jayson, that maybe what it is that they just don't know how to make the stuff that I'm writing. And to talk about the stuff that I'm writing, another thing that Jayson said, he was just like, don't write a fuck it script, write a fuck you script. And basically, if you're unfamiliar, it's just like a little silly shit that, we kind of came up with in Screenwriter Twitter. A fuck it script is basically the script where you're just like, fuck it. I'm not trying to write to industry mandates. I'm not trying to chase trends. I'm not writing something that I think will sell. I'm just saying, fuck it. I'm writing the script that I want to write, regardless of whether or not anybody else likes it, regardless of whether it wins contests or opens the door to representation or anything like that. I'm just saying, fuck it. This is the script that I want to write. So yeah, Jayson was just like, don't write, a fuck it script, write a fuck you script. And it's the script in which you're saying fuck you to the industry. And I would just like to say that I am currently working on my fuck you script, which is Screenwriter's Blues. It's funny because when I got the initial idea for Screenwriter's Blues, that's what it was. It was like a fuck you script. It was definitely my frustrations. The only thing though, and I was honest with myself, and I was just like, okay, this idea is cool. And yeah, I can skewer the industry, at least from my point of view, but it felt like something was missing. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know like what to add or how to change it to make it a little more exciting. And then inspiration hit. Inspiration hit from the most unlikely event. And I was just like, oh, well, maybe if I do this, and I can change Screenwriter's Blues into something else. So now I'm really excited with where it is, what it is. And it's much more than just a comedy that's like lampooning the industry. It's much more than just a story about it's much more than the story of a black screenwriter struggling to break in. I've given it a little more flavor. And even though still being culturally specific, I'm still writing to a certain audience, I've added elements that I think will kind of like broaden its appeal. Still saying fuck you though. Still saying fuck you. Another thing that Jayson mentioned, he was just like a lot of these execs, a lot of these people, even though they may love a script, they may say no to it because it doesn't fit their mandate, because they just don't want to take any chances. They don't want to like risk their position at the company. They don't want to risk their job, their stability. You know, they want to ensure that they still got a paycheck like at the end of the day, right? But it really, you know, it makes me think about Warner Brothers. Man, oh man, like I feel like folks were talking a lot of shit about Warner Brothers, you know, especially because of David Zaslav and, you know, how he's like been running the parent company and everything. But, you know, I think about the two executives, Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi, and everyone's just like, oh man, you know, Warner Brothers is in trouble and they're in danger of getting fired or whatever. And they have had the most spectacular year, the most spectacular run. Warner Brothers and New Line movies. So they've had like Minecraft movie, Sinners, F1, Weapons, Final Destination, Bloodlines. All of these movies have been massive hits. All these movies opened to like more than $40 million at the box office. And this like in a row, like I don't think they've had like, you know, a successive run of successes. And a good number of these hits are original ideas. Sure, like F1 is tied to a brand or whatever, but that's an original story. Weapons is an original story. Sinners is for damn sure an original story. And these movies have been big hits and they've been like cultural touchstones. So they took chances on original films and look at what happened. Just massive box office success and critical success. So that's the thing, like that's the lesson that I would hope a lot of these people would take, is that sure, you know, we've still got IP driven movies, but look at these original films that have been coming out and just like killing it. And I think even like Paramount, I don't know what they're doing over at Paramount, but from what I read, Paramount supposedly is looking for more original material. You know, they want to come out with original films. They want original ideas. It's just like, yeah, you got to take that risk. You got to. I feel like audiences want original film. But yeah, as Jayson advised, you know, don't write the fuck it script, write the fuck you script. And I'm hard at work on mine. I'm absolutely hard at work on mine. I also want to address the good brother Raymond. Raymond sent me some messages earlier today, and you know, it was also like in response to my Azalea update video. And one of the things that Raymond said, he was just like, Hollywood is not about talent. It's about who you know. And I agree with that. A big reason why I moved to Los Angeles 7 years ago was because I always felt that the only way I'd really be able to make any waves in the industry was if I was out here in the thick of things, in people's faces, right? Everyone kept saying, you know, you don't have to move, you know, you can write from anywhere. And that's true. But the thing about the industry is that it's still all based here. Being out here has done a lot for me in terms of like making any kind of progress, because I have met people. I met people like Jayson. I, you know, met tons of other people, and you're just close to the industry. I know that people are leaving, and, you know, they're saying that, you know, a lot of productions, you know, are leaving LA and this, that, and the other. The business is still here. The studios and the agencies and even like the production companies and everything, they're all still based here. Like people are still here. This is where decisions are still made. And you're right, Raymond, you know, it's not necessarily talent, it's who you know. And sometimes you can run into somebody at the bar, just be like, oh, you're the producer of that Oscar-winning movie? And let me tell you, that did happen. That has happened. And another thing that Raymond mentioned, he was just like, you know, you got to remember, this is a business. It's the movie business. You know, will your script make money? If we make this and we, you know, into a movie and release it, will it make money? And I can honestly say, yeah, I think so. I do think so. Because again, I'm writing for a specific audience. Like, I know who I'm writing for. And it's an underserved audience. And when you give an underserved audience something that's authentic, they embrace it. They love it. And the thing about this particular audience, talking about black people, I'm talking about black people. The thing is, black audiences, when they love something, they love it forever. Forever. There's so many movies and TV shows that we consider classic that let's say the mainstream audience, the mainstream wouldn't pay attention to or wouldn't, think of, right? And they endure in our collective consciousness, in our collective cultural consciousness, whether it's in the memes that we share or whether we, quote movies that are like 40, 50 years old. You can see and hear the influence of like all these movies in just everything that we do. And I think that that's something that the industry really, really overlooks. I think about, for instance, a movie like Friday. Friday came out in 1995. That movie is 30 years old. And to this day, it's like still beloved. It has gone from like a cult classic to like a cultural phenomenon. It launched the careers of so many people. And when it was released, even though it wasn't like $100 million grosser or anything, it still made its money back. The studio, they still got a return on their investment. And I just use that as an example, like that's just one of the better examples, one of the bigger examples. And there are so many others that we can bring up, we can talk about. But yeah, just to answer that question, just to address that, do I think that the scripts that I write would make money? Yes. Yes, I do. And I also say this because like I feel like I know my audience. I've written 4 books. I've mentioned that before. I'm not moving Stephen King units. I'm not selling books like that. But every month I still get a royalty check. I'm moving some units, and my books have connected with a certain audience. Like I know who I'm writing for. I know what works, at least what works for them. So I do think that, yeah, I'm a pretty good gamble. Speaking of books, I think that what I'm going to do with Azalea, because it is a story that I want to get out. I want people to know it, right? And if I can't get it up on the big screen, at least I can get it out in paper form. So I'm thinking that I may work on Azalea as a novel. I think that I may adapt my screenplay into a novel. And that's something that I would work on after I wrap up these next few scripts. But yeah, I think that that's what I'm going to do with Azalea. I'm also, and some of you have suggested this in the comments, I do think that I'm going to try to shoot a proof of concept for Azalea. I think I mentioned this in the previous video, but there is a particular scene that I have in mind that I think would work. So that's what I'm going to try to do. And I just recently had my first meeting with the IWC, the Independent Writers Caucus. And just a lot of things that they talked about just made me feel just like, number one, really good, really good about being a new member. Just like, all the things that, that we're going to do, the resources that are available to us, the people that we'll be meeting and speaking with. And I feel like they may be able to assist me in creating this proof of concept. So yeah, I'm really excited about the IWC. I feel like a lot of good things will come from being a member of this organization. So I'll definitely keep y'all abreast on what we do, what happens, as much as I can. One final thing. This right here is the debut novel from authoress Abby D. I have not opened it yet. Let me go ahead and open this. Ooh, it's nice and thick. Whoa. Yo! Our Twisted Family Ties. Look at this. So Abby had been documenting her writer's journey on Instagram, and I was just like, yeah, let me know. Whenever it's done and, it's published, I'm right there. I want to support you. And it came out a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into this. Here's the blurb on the back. It says, some skeletons were meant to be buried and others were never meant to be discovered. When an innocent fellowship formed between Tion, Damaris, and Tamir turns chaotic, secrets that were meant to be forgotten are eventually revealed. Under desperate measures, people will jump through deadly hoops to conceal the truth, while others who were wronged want their revenge. Once hidden paths Ancient mistakes and relationships are brought to light, ties will quickly unravel. The discoveries will have you questioning everything. Will the revelations uncovered break the bond of Tion, Damaris, and Tamir, or make it stronger? Find out in our Twisted Family Ties. I'll also link to her website and I guess like Amazon or whatever, if you guys are interested in checking this out. Okay, I have definitely yapped long enough. Again, shout out to Raymond for hitting me with those, you know, those thoughts and those questions. And shout out to my man, Jayson Smiley. Jayson, we got to get together sometime soon. Seriously. We've been saying that for a minute now. We need to really make that happen. Although not until after October, because I'm doing Sober October. Yeah, I am. All right, friends. Catch y'all in the next one.